And so governing power is very simple for the Working Families Party. Recruit, win, organize champions, govern alongside them, and win for our people. That's what it comes down to. Who's in it to win? When we fight, when we fight, when we fight, that's right. At the heart of the Working Families Party are the state chapters. There is no Working Families Party without the states. You all heard it at roll call last night. So this morning, we're going to hear from leaders from 3 states about how the WFP is building power. And we're going to imagine together how it will add up over time. Now, I know you're going to all forget this, so you're going to hear it throughout the day, but I'm going to tell you now. There are 2 breakout sessions today. There's one this morning, and there's one after lunch. The breakout sessions are going to, there's different types. There are trainings where you're going to learn the tools of the trade, and there are discussions where you can be in discussion with all the brilliant folks in this room. You can do a training in the morning, a discussion after lunch, or you can switch that. I would highly suggest for states that you spread out so that you can learn all as much information as possible and then share it with one another. But these are great breakout sessions with lunch in between, and lunch is here in this room. After the second breakout session, everyone's going to come back to this room for a really great activity this afternoon. I have to take a moment to lift up the staff of the Working Families Party who made this possible. And when I tell you they have planned every minute, I mean every minute of the day. Every minute, like 9:37. Up. The way that we honor. Where are we going to come back to? Right here. Where are we coming back to? Right this room, that's right. Enjoy the day. Soak up every second of it. This is a historic moment. This is the first Working Families Party convention, not the last, but the first, and you're here for it. When you look at those photos from movies, doing something brilliant, you're in the room doing something brilliant. You're in the picture. So that means we come back to the room after the second session today and we have a good time. And then tonight you heard the voice of the goddess. We go over to Lucky Strike. We've rented out the whole place. So it's all for us. I came to the Working Families Party. My organization actually was one of the folks who brought the Working Families Party to New Mexico. And I didn't quite understand it, but I knew I liked it. I knew it felt right. And then I ended up as an alternate at a Working Families Party meeting in New York, actually, a week after Trump won in 2016. And I wasn't even supposed to be there. And then I ended up on the executive committee. I got elected onto the executive committee at that meeting because Hetty from New Jersey nominated me, and I didn't know what was going on, but I said, okay. And I wasn't supposed to be there, but I was supposed to be there. And I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, with the Working Families Party. And I'm so thrilled that all of you are here. The next person I'm going to introduce has led this party. And being on the executive committee, I've had the privilege of a front row seat to watching how this party has grown, how it's moved west, how it's expanded, how we've won races, how we've moved the needle. And it's been through the leadership of this person who has vision from day one. This person has had vision, but that vision is backed by concrete action. And so it's my honor and my privilege to introduce the National Director of the Working Families Party, Maurice Mitchell.
Greetings, family. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. WFP is 25 years old this year. It is my sincere hope that when we look back on this weekend 25 years from now, we'll remark on how those days in Philly were a historic pivot point for our movement, when a few hundred dedicated individuals gathered in Philly to make new collective commitments to one another and to their party, our party. You could clap for that. That collective commitment is the story of where we're going. That story can't be told without framing it in the full context of where we've been. And as the national director, as a party leader, as an organizer, the only way I could do that is by sharing a little bit of my story. Is that okay? All right. This is a picture of my mother. She was born in Pinal in South Trinidad. People know Trinidad and Tobago? Yeah? April 8th is her birthday. In fact, she turned 1 April 8th, 1947. Now, why is that date important? Well, on that day, halfway around the world, a small group of 39 obscure economists came together at a conference in Switzerland to lay out a case for why they needed to remake the world. Their mission was audacious and totally unreasonable. I'll get back to them later. Let's fast forward 2 decades to the 1960s. My grandmother leaves 11 children in Trinidad and Tobago for the US, where she finds employment as a domestic worker on Long Island. The economy is booming. Upper middle class people are seeking out labor to serve their needs, and laborers are seeking a piece of the American dream. If this story feels familiar because you or someone in your family had to flee home to escape poverty, famine, pogroms, death camps, white terror, Jim Crow, paramilitaries, gangs, I see you. Like many from the Caribbean, Africa, and Asia, Granny comes to America to take part in this bustling economy, leaving behind a newly independent nature. My grandmother arrived here amidst a backdrop of freedom struggles, national liberation movements around the world, the civil rights movement, the Black Power movement, the women's movement, the sexual revolution, LGBTQ organizing, and a burgeoning anti-war movement. Now, if you're a champion of the status quo, you're still on top, still wealthy, still powerful, but with all of this new organizing, the position of the status quo is anything but stable. If you're a newcomer, like my grandmother, maybe you feel both exhilarated and disoriented at all the possibility and change around you. If you were part of the left, both here and abroad, you might have thought that the revolution was right around the corner, that a more democratic society and economy was a foregone conclusion, that one big moment would spark the consciousness of the masses and light a popular fire for lasting change to topple all the various systems of oppression. Well, by the mid-60s, the Civil Rights Act and Voting Rights Act was a legislative defeat to the Southern segregationists that shared power in the Democratic Party, marking the end of legal segregation as well as the full migration of the Dixiecrats to the Republican Party, an alliance that holds to this day. Now, I want you to do the unthinkable right now. Put yourselves in the shoes of the elite. On the heels of the Great Depression and World War II, we got the New Deal and the Great Society, which brought an enthusiastic acceptance of government intervention to shape markets and constrain capital. And now Black folks are fighting for and winning victories to make dents in the tight racial caste system. Year after year, labor unions were growing their ranks and flexing their muscles. A generation of people, some of their sons and daughters, were drawn to the left. Of course, capital still reigned, but capitalism operated with agreements and guardrails informed by a Great Depression and a Great War. And that made many elites and leading capitalists uncomfortable. In other words, that stage of capitalism was not capitalist enough for some radical market supremacist. You hear me? Fast forward to 1971. After years of saving her domestic worker's salary, my grandmother bought a home on Long Island. You clap for that. That same year, a few miles away on Wall Street, the Powell Memo was commissioned by the Chamber of Commerce, an anti-union, anti-environmentalist screed that called for corporate dominance over everything, including government. Alarmed and uneasy, corporate forces were organizing, right? They were. 2 years later, Roe v. Wade secured the legal right to an abortion, handing a stunning defeat to the Christian right. But like their corporate counterparts, you could clap for that, that's good news. Like their corporate counterparts, they didn't wither away into the night or cynically accept defeat. They began to radicalize, organize, and embrace a theocratic political ideology. They theorized that an unpopular movement needed infrastructure and strategy to overcome their lack of base, which means by the mid-70s, the Christian right, corporate right, and racist right had all faced real defeat. But oh, the power of defeat to mature you, to discipline you, and to make available new coalition partners. White Christian nationalists found unlikely bedfellows and corporatists. They did not share much in terms of ideology or mission, but they found common cause in defeat. A quest for power, control, and crushing the opposition united them. Fast forward to 1979. A future organizer is born on Long Island. That same year, a decade-long economic crisis came to a head. Remember those obscure economists that met on my mom's first birthday to hatch a world-changing plot? Remember them? Men like Friedrich Hayek and Milton Friedman. Well, their time had come. Their neoliberal scheme, mainstreamed through universities, carefully promoted over decades, and pushed through leadership development pipelines, had arrived at the perfect time as the perfect idea for the ideal crisis. 1 year later, the political conditions created by the alliance between the Christian right and organized capital culminated with the election of this man. And with him, hundreds of disciplined adherents from school boards all the way up to Congress. In a manner hard to imagine, just a few years before, the left was on the ropes. And the formerly anxious right had cause for optimism. A full frontal attack on labor unions was launched. Racial minorities, and black women specifically, were blamed for society's economic woes. The social safety net was shredded. Public goods like education and healthcare defunded. Prisons and policing were invested in. Stockbrokers and shareholders reigned supreme. The theories of unlimited growth, trickle down, the market is God, competition is king, corporations have rights, migrants have none, there is no society, only individuals, greed is good, became the new common sense. So much that it was accepted that there was no alternative to it. On Long Island, Mom came home with war stories from the hospital she worked at in Far Rockaway, Queens. As an 1199 SEIU registered nurse, on the front lines of the drug war, she had no shortage of those war stories. I grew up with neighbors selling crack on our tree-lined street. By my teens, I'd been harassed, pulled over, humiliated, and eventually arrested countless times. I saw my parents work harder than ever while never escaping the edge of making ends meet, month after month, year after year. The trickle-down economics that made it rain on the wealthy never showered on our block. What my family didn't know, but all of us would learn, was the forces on the right were steadily building a mighty infrastructure to lock in their prosperity and lock us out. The Heritage Foundation, the Club for Growth, and other think tanks spawned the policies, which creates the need for groups like ALEC to draw the legislation. and eventually the state-by-state infrastructure of the State Policy Exchange and Americans for Prosperity locks in all those gains by court mandate. The greed is good, trickle-down narrative was fed from media like the Wall Street Journal, AM Talk Radio, religious programming, and finally Fox News, legitimizing, popularizing, and socializing their ideas. They had charismatic candidates and personalities to champion their values: Reagan, Thatcher, Friedman, Limbaugh, Bush, and even a governor from Arkansas named William Jefferson Clinton. They were organized. They had infrastructure. They had a North Star. They had faithful adherents to rigorously work the plan. They were not geniuses or magicians. You see, with that infrastructure in place, you can get a lot wrong and course correct over time. And most importantly, when a crisis hits, and one will hit, you can be the most organized force to capitalize on it. Not the most factually correct or morally right, the most organized, the most ready. Through the years, they won some and they lost some. But a clear direction prevents you from leaping to irrational exuberance when you win or crushing despair in defeat. Now, you can more easily ride the natural ebb and flow of movement moments and evaluate after each episode, all the while inching closer to the North Star when you have that clear direction. That is what the right did. Conversely, our infrastructure had been systematically dismantled, from labor unions to left mass organizations to left political parties. We'd been weakened by government infiltration, legal and policy losses, our own sectarianism, pettiness, infighting, and strategic errors. We gotta tell the truth, right? Where our opponents had leaders and personalities we know by name, many of our leaders were dead, imprisoned, absorbed by academic institutions, co-opted by the status quo, or defanged by nonprofit culture. Overwhelmed by a triumphant right and a corporatized center-left, we had become a movement without a home, a people with no party. If you need evidence of this, think of the hallmark legislation signed by the Democratic president. In '94 alone, the crime bill birthed a generation of terror and mass incarceration, while NAFTA was the death knell to the American worker, a betrayal communities still reel from today. And trauma is still felt, especially in Black communities and other over-policed communities of color today. Not to speak of the impact of financial deregulation and welfare reform. Under these conditions, our party was born. Give it up for those folks there 25 years ago that started the Working Families Party in New York. Give it up for them. Some of them are in this room. Give it up for them. Where's Dan Cantor at? Give it up for him. Fast forward to 2008. A Black former organizer with a funny name built a multiracial coalition, reinvigorating the promise of the Rainbow Coalition, and led an overwhelming tactical victory against the Republicans. Millions of young people got in formation. Voters of color turned out in record numbers. Organizers fanned across the country working on elections everywhere. I was one of them. We jumped on tables, we high-fived at this historic victory. A presidency, a 60-seat filibuster-proof majority in the Senate, a 79-seat majority in the House, 192 rural counties that today we call Trump country were won by a Black man whose middle name is Hussein. But a lack of infrastructure, strategy, and leadership to discipline our ranks led some of us to irrational tactical exuberance. Many wondered aloud if we were in a post-racial America. Was the Republican Party no longer viable? Is this a left victory? In the haze of celebration, many of us didn't anticipate the rise of the Tea Party, the loss of hundreds of seats in state legislatures, and the early seeds of what we now know as Trumpism. The Obama administration's response to a crisis that nearly led to the collapse of the global economy didn't help. They inherited a Bush administration Hail Mary play. The too big to fail banks were bailed out, and everyone here held the bag, giving ordinary Americans another reminder that there was a system for the rich and a system for the rest. All this seeded the conditions for Occupy Wall Street to leverage popular dissatisfaction into a movement, the 99% and the 1%. We could give it up for Occupy. There's some of y'all are in the room. I see Nalini Stamp. I see other folks in the room. Finally, a popular challenge to austerity politics, a crack in the armor of the idea that there is no alternative to neoliberalism. Then there was the movement for Black Lives. I see my movement for Black Lives comrades in the room. Give it up for them. If you're part of the movement for Black Lives, on the front lines of Black liberation, you could stand up and everybody else could thank them for changing our world. Y'all could stand up and take your flowers. Y'all could stand up. I love my people. That was another crack. Standing Rock. Me Too. Bernie Sanders' 2016 campaign. I see a bunch of Bernie folks in the room. And then the Trump election, a massive realignment, with the racist faction of the right-wing coalition capturing all three branches of the federal government, a play at least 40 years in the making. By 2016, the Trump election had caused such a crisis of strategy for everyone, from the center-right to the left, that many of our institutions sought new leaders, some from social movements, to provide new context and perhaps new direction. That election started a chain of events that radicalized liberals and electoralized radicals. Movement candidates and left insurgents, buoyed by a seemingly endless supply of small dollar donations, along with eager and idealistic volunteers, changed political math. Many of us were more interested in using elections as a tactic of protest than a vehicle for governing. Now, perhaps that was a beautiful night in Queens. We rocked the world. Give it up for Tiffany Caban. Perhaps we deprioritized some of the basics of mass organizing in our attention to mass mobilization, popularity, and spectacle. And given the historical ways of popular energy, who could blame us? That tendency, tactics, spectacle, protest is as understandable as it is hollow. I saw echoes of this in 2015 when, after the Ferguson uprising went global, we successfully called the question on state violence against working-class Black people. But the most organized forces, big business, had the ability to answer, and they did. Organized capital figured out how to profit with Taser International, now making body cameras common while the killings continue. And those in governing positions from city halls all the way to the White House were happy to oblige. Undeterred by those contradictions, we continue to ratchet up the tactics with notable successes we must honor and celebrate. Trump's presidency had movement bookends. The Women's March in 2017, and in 2020, when the nation was rocked by the pandemic and the horrifying murder of George Floyd, the movement for Black Lives became the largest protest movement in American history. The energy swept more progressives into office and helped make Donald Trump the first one-term president in a generation. We had remarkable energy and some real victories and momentum. We succeeded in pushing our current president further than many of us thought possible. An attempt at student debt relief, although hampered by the right, historic investments in climate change, renewed labor militancy, real industrial policy, and a full-throated rebuke of trickle-down economics. We did that. We pushed him. We pushed them. However, we're learning the limitation of a tactics-forward approach to change, aren't we? Despite these victories, we still lived in a world shaped by the three-headed coalition of the religious, racist, and corporate right. Despite our gains federally, some of us have been living under US fascism for a while. I'm looking at the folks in the South, for example. And now, they're bringing that war to the rest of us. A year after Joe Biden was elected, a lot of liberals went back to brunch. The backlash against the movement for Black Lives was in full swing. At the judicial level, the three Christian nationalists appointed to the Supreme Court were taking a hacksaw to environmental regulations, reproductive rights, and affirmative action. They are fighting on the terrain of culture, trying to erase Black history, transgender identity, ban books, and control women's bodies. And if we were to be honest, the zealous volunteers are fewer and further between. The resistance energy has become flat without Trump in the White House. Many of the responses to American neo-fascism are led by the center or the center-right, not the left. Which means even after great tactical victories, we have the power to protest everywhere, but rarely the ability to govern anywhere. And where is that big idea, neoliberalism? After 4 decades, people across the ideological spectrum see it for what it is, failure. Even the sitting president is openly deriding it. Those cracks in the armor have exposed its lies. And as a result, working people are honestly searching for answers. Fewer people are finding them through traditional media, unions, or mass organizations, opting for the online clutches of misinformation merchants, delivered to them by algorithms designed to colonize their attention and reward their basest instincts. Alienation, loneliness, depression, and despair are at epidemic proportions. Social cohesion is low while the tolerance for political violence is high. At WFP, what do we make of all this? We believe our struggle today has 4 central challenges. Number 1, the white supremacist neo-fascist takeover of the Republican Party. Number 2, the corporate capture of larger slices of our government, including the Democratic Party. Number 3, more working people of all races fleeing the Democratic Party coalition, joining the right, or dropping out of politics altogether. And number 4, the two-party system itself, exacerbating the first 3 crises. People want answers to their urgent needs for physical and economic security. They, and we, want to be safe. Yet every election is about the simple question, do we want to live in a fascist country? Will our votes even count? And of course, the fascist forces don't say, give me your vote and we'll end democracy. They say, believe your eyes and ears. The things that you've been feeling are real. Things have never been worse. Help me help you protect your family. While the pro-democracy forces led by liberals say, trust me, things will get better. Help me protect democracy. Help me protect the system. How do we break this cycle? There are no magic bullets. There are no messiahs. No one is going to come to save us but us. So look around you. The answers you seek are right here in this room. Literally, there is no B team. It is us. Look around you. What started as a small coalition of disaffected activists and labor organizers 25 years ago has grown to fill this room. And if we do our jobs, when we gather 25 years from now, what started in this ballroom will fill arenas. You are here, we are here, being called to become and to embody a party that will flip American politics on its head, the party of our dreams. And let me tell you how we start. We start that by setting a strategy, our North Star. Governing power, gaining governing power for working people. Then we do the boring, serious work of building the enabling institutions that will secure it, state by state. Let us come together to build beachheads where we can reflect soberly on the wins and losses, all while building a political project together. Let our strategy do the work we placed our faith and tactics to accomplish. It is time for us to release a commitment to perennial protest and embrace a laser-like focus on governing, where we set agendas, where our ideas become the new common sense. That means being secure in our pursuit of power and demonstrating the cool, ruthless confidence of someone with a plan. Over the next 25 years, we will create the conditions for the WFP to become a legitimate third force in U.S. politics. I'm going to say that again, over the next 25 years, everyone in this ballroom will create the conditions for the WFP to become a legitimate third force in U.S. politics. A true political vehicle broad enough for all of our communities, with our own activists, leaders, state-based coalitions, candidates, technology, and resources. We will bring together 4 capacities everywhere we build. Number 1, the competence to win competitive elections on our terms. Number 2, the capacity to unite strong coalitions around a shared agenda. Number 3, the ability to organize the majorities of the future. And number 4, the wherewithal to govern once we win the prize. By now, you might be wondering, how can we do this? How can we do this work in a united and sustained way to reach the scale we need? How can we achieve multiracial solidarity in our current context? How can we check our egos and rein in our pettiness? How can we check the ways that disputes over money, power, and respect divide us? How can we elevate our aspirations above the mediocrity of the nonprofit coalition? A shared commitment to our own party. That's how. Inside a shared commitment to party, those hard things become doable, meaningful, and worthwhile. Imagine building and protecting a political vehicle big enough for all of us to travel to the North Star of governing power. Hopping out of that vehicle over a dispute, for example, makes as much sense as leaving a car in transit because you don't like the song on the radio. All right? Once you win this party, we going all the way to freedom. And we could struggle while we get there. We can have our fights while we get there. Because just like those maniacal men in 1947, or the corporations in 1971, or the religious right in 73, what starts off as a relatively small group of people with a niche idea, coherent into strategy, can take life and change the world by transforming crisis into a new common sense. Will we let our defeats mature us, discipline us, and have us reach towards new coalition partners? That's a legitimate question. Will we? Yes. Will we? Yes. And by no means do we seek to replicate the journey of our adversaries. We have our own. But look at what they've done with mediocrity and lies. Imagine what we could do with our brilliance, creativity, and our stories. Let's take mine. Let's take mine, which begins with the improbable story of a little girl born in the mud of South Trinidad and Tobago, and her mother, a woman that risked it all to come to America without a plan, and a boy that was born in the midst of Reaganomics, who found purpose in movement and reason that there was no way to transcend our contradictions without a shared vehicle that has, to this point, been historically elusive, yet stands before you today convinced that we can and must do this. We are in a rare window of new possibilities where old systems are dying. Something new will emerge. What that something may be is unknown, but the future shifts in the direction of those that dare act like they are not subject to the dying of the new, but agents of the coming. Subjects are not dying of the old, but agents of the coming of the new. That is all of us. And for us, it starts here over the next 25 years, state by state, election by election, careful step by careful step, humbly, compassionately, ruthlessly pursuing the path to power. This is our mandate. And if you accept this mandate, I want you to put a fist in the air. Because when we fight, when we fight, when we organize, build, 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 build. All right, y'all. Let's build it then. Let's build it. Let's build it. Y'all ready to build a party? It's going to be a lot of work. All power to the people. I don't know. We got to get that right. All power to the people. So this marks WFP's 25th anniversary. WFP started in New York, and for many years, there were just a handful of states. Now we're building state parties in almost 20 states, and more are taking their first steps to join the party right now. In our first 25 years, we have changed the political map in a number of places, and that work never stops. And as we have grown into a national force, we stand poised to change America's political map in ways that it might even be hard to really imagine. So this presentation is to help us imagine the next 25 years of WFP. We'll get a picture of how the work we're doing will add up over time towards achieving more and more governing power in our WFP states. You'll hear from leaders from 3 states about their strategies to build governing power for working class people of all races and how we're building our party infrastructure along that way. We're called on to imagine, truly try to imagine the future we can build together over our party's next 2.5 decades. California is one of WFP's newest states. In case you have not noticed, California is big, and this is big. It's big news. So let's hear from Christina Livingston, and Assemblymember Tina McKinnon, to tell us about the plan they have to win real governing power for our people, the Golden State. Thank you.
Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Christina Livingston. I'm the chair of the California Working Families Party. I'm the executive director of the community group ACE. And I'm like an objectively stylish and brilliant human.
Good morning, WFP. I am Assemblymember Tina McKinnon and part of California Working Families Party first squad to the state legislature.
Yeah.
Woo! But more importantly, I'm a founding chapter member.
Right. So California WFP is new to the WFP family, obviously, but let me tell y'all something. We've been rocking and rolling since we started. We adopted our state chapter in 2021. We hired Jane Kim, who's our state director, in 2022. And we went on to have a banner year in 22. We endorsed 59 candidates. We won 35 races. And we have taken a really powerful initial step at building a squad of aligned elected officials at the state level. So over the next 6 years, our goal is to win governing power in the California state legislature.
Listen, California is a super blue state. Dems have a supermajority in both state houses and have 1 statewide elected seats. But corporations still have outsized influence on California politics, blocking key progressive legislation, and they have built a formidable pipeline of corporate-friendly elected officials. This has further concentrated tech power and wealth in the state. Billionaire corporations, including Big Oil, California's largest political spender, Big Pharma, corporate landlords, and spend millions annually to fight an agenda to advance climate justice, strengthen tenant and worker protection, create universal health care, and enact significant state tax on extreme wealth. They invest deeply, guys, in corporate-friendly Republicans and corporate-friendly Democrats. We need a strong, progressive political voice to counter big money and politics being fueled by billionaire corporate interests. We are building grassroots power that can win transformative legislation at the state level and in every jurisdiction where our people live and work.
Yes.
So this year, we're diligently working to complete a state power building plan that will chart a course to progressive governing majority in the legislature. Ideally, that plan's done by the end of the year. And to create that plan, we've engaged in really deep data analysis of the California electorate, looking at where the multiracial working class is located in the state, as well as a progressive voting bloc that includes working class, where we can win majorities. And if y'all want to hear more about that, go to the data breakout. My girl Chad's going to be in there. But we've looked at where seats are opening up. There's going to be a massive wave of term limits and resignations in the California State Legislature in 24 and in 26 cycles. And to fill those seats, we're digging deep to build a pipeline of progressive elected officials at the local government level. Many of those folks are here in the room today. So when we have a majority in the state legislature of progressives and liberals, it will open the door so that we can pass much more transformative legislation in the state. Right? We'll empower our movements to put working people ahead of big oil, pharma, realtors, so that we can win a climate justice agenda, so we can win a social housing agenda, working rights agenda, and Medicare for everyone in California.
Yes.
But in the meantime, we're also building California working families' political home up and down the state. Our organizers are focused on building individual members and activist base in the Bay, Central Valley, Los Angeles, Inland Empire, Orange, and San Diego. And we have a powerful base of organizers and labor unions who sit on our state and regional committees. We are proud of the 30-strong California delegation who are here today.
Yeah.
Woo!
NFCA!
Woo! Representing our members, member affiliates, and labor unions. Well, WFP, that's not all we're doing. We're also investing in our elected officials, supporting their policy and skills training. Last year, after our first official cycle, we convened all our candidates who won for a day-and-a-half governing convenience with affordable housing, tenant protection, climate justice, and labor policy experts on organizational management and social media to support their leadership. This year, we provided a cohort of elected officials, including myself, with executive and management and media coaching, and we're looking forward to our next convening in November 2023.
So we're really inspired by the great work that WFP has accomplished in other parts of the country. And as you know, one of the new kids on the block, we're excited to show y'all over the next few years what WFP can do in the biggest state in the nation. So adelante, let's go.
Let's give it up for California. Give it up for California. One of our newest states, but coming in strong with the governing power agenda. All right. That was exciting. I don't know if you all felt it, but okay. Okay, next. We're all going to hear now from Colorado, and I want to pass it to Colorado State Senator Julie Gonzalez and Colorado Education Association President Amy Baca-Ohlert. Come on down, y'all.
Buenos dias, y'all. How are y'all doing today? My name is Julie Gonzalez, and I am honored to represent Northwest and Downtown Denver in the Colorado State Senate. I'm proud to be a founding member of the Colorado Working Families Party chapter. And I'm proud to be here alongside my union sister and fellow delegate, CEA President Amy Baca-Ohlert. Over this past year, the member leaders of Colorado Working Families Party have been meeting and discussing how we build governing power and how we set the agenda and run the show in Colorado. We are clear that we have already built formidable power. We have real power in the House of the state Colorado, in the Colorado State House, but I serve in the Senate, y'all. And we have work to do in my chamber. I'm just gonna be honest. We have to contest for power in the Senate and in statewide races. We have learned that in Colorado that this path runs through communities of color, runs through the Latino community, marking a difference between the Chicano community in that work and immigrant voters in that work, where we represent the margin of victory across the state. That is our work ahead, and I couldn't be prouder to do it.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Amy Baca-Ohlert, a high school counselor and the proud president of the Colorado Education Association, representing over 39,000 educators across the state of Colorado who do the critical job of educating Colorado students every single day. I am the first Latina elected as the president of the Colorado Education Association. And Senator Gonzalez and I share a little bit of history as daughters of two Latinos who grew up in the same part of northern New Mexico and ranching community, and look at us now. We in Colorado are crystal clear about what's at stake for educators, students, families, and Coloradans in general. We may have some power right now, but Colorado is also home to our congressperson, Lauren Boebert. And rising forces on the right, those white Christian nationalists that Mo spoke about, who want to destroy public education and pit working people against one another. We are seeing extremism play out and far-right attempts to take over our local school boards right now in this election cycle. WFP is our shared vehicle to build a majority coalition of working-class voters, all races, and to govern this state according to our values. So at CEA, we always say, make the plan the plan will work. So what's the plan? Between now and 2028, we are hyper-focused on shoring up our power in the State House. We'll work on the Senate. We are going to build a working, cohesive, working families party majority. We are currently at 22 out of 46 in the House. I was a language arts teacher, not a math teacher, but I do know about rounding up, so I'm going to say we're halfway there. If we do this, we know that we can also elect a Working Family Party's champion as the Colorado Speaker of the House. Within the next few years, it's within our reach. Lastly, in 2026, we aim to elect a Working Family Party's governor. And through this statewide race, we will build our Working Family Party's membership in rural, western, and southern Colorado.
I want to continue this because by 2038, we're very clear and have our sights set on achieving a governing trifecta, where WFP has also taken control of our state Senate by expanding our caucus in the Working Families Party and winning the Senate president election. And because we aren't stopping with state races, y'all, we want to elect our first WFP congressperson from Colorado.
She may just be standing on the stage with me. Always got to make the ask. By 2048, we hope to have elected our first WFP minted United States Senator. And I hope we can do this sooner, but by 2048, we're going to say we will have eradicated corporate Dems from our state government. This is ambitious, but we know it's possible by investing in and building a working class voter bloc. Our state power plan points to how we can do this. Make the plan, work the plan will work. First, we are going to scale up candidate bench building programs, especially in northern Colorado, southern Colorado, and the western slope. We've already started this with new organizations in northern and southern Colorado. We are investing in political education and deeper organizational partnerships that can expand the party, like working with Voces Unidas in the Western Slope and labor unions across the state. Now, I am in my 6th and final year as the president of the CEA. When I look back on my term as the president of CEA, one of the things that I will always be the most proud of is being a part of leading my union, the CEA, to join the Working Families Party. So we are going to keep doing the hard work of aligning forces in Colorado around WFP as our shared vehicle for building governing power and picking strategic fights that shift power and position us for bigger gains, including key strategic alignments around housing and taxation and revenue. We're building our power, and we're not done. Si se puede.
Si se puede. Thank you, y'all. Give it up for Colorado. Give it up. And now I want to pass it to, from my home state, Luisa Pacheco, chair of the Western New York chapter of the New York WFP, and Michelle Crenshaw, the New York WFP state officer and political director of the New York State's Nurses Association.
Don't worry, everyone. New York is here. New York is here, everyone. We're here. I see my delegation in the back. I told them to be loud. I need their energy. New York, where you at? Where's New York? All right, so good morning, everyone. My name is Michelle Crenshaw. I am the political director of the New York State Nurses Association, which is New York's largest nurses union. Yes. I'm also a state officer for New York Working Families Party, and I'm so excited to present the state power plan for the great state of New York, which also includes the independent Republic of Brooklyn. I'm also here with Luisa Pacheco, my labor comrade and the powerful chair of our Western New York chapter. 25 years ago, New York WFP made our first mark on New York state politics when we earned over 50,000 votes required to establish a political party in New York and got our own ballot line. And in the 25 years since, we've steadily built power. We won back control of the New York State Senate after years of Republican rule. We elected Democratic supermajorities in both houses in the state legislature. But most importantly, we've won on big issues that made material changes for working people, from raising minimum wage to passing paid sick leave to winning historic tenant protections. We've made it clear how the WFP shows up for working families. Louisa.
Michelle has shared some powerful snapshots of all that we've built in New York, and it's worth noting that we did all of this because of the organizing that we did. Behind all that work is a powerful coalition of labor, community groups, and individual activists who come together in collaborative, democratic space to engage in principled struggle and strategic decision-making. In the last 25 years, we've also built 16 chapters and clubs representing over 3,000 members. We have 20 affiliate organizations who bring over 166,000 affiliated members to the party. And we have nearly 50,000 WFP registered voters across the state. And just last year, when they were coming at us to kill our party, we got 400,000 New York voters to vote on the Working Families Party ballot line in New York. That is who makes up our party, and these are the people driving the work, especially the work ahead.
So our delegation has been having critical strategic conversations in the lead up to this convention, largely around the next 3 years, because in New York, we can't sleep. So in 2024, we know the country is looking to New York to reclaim congressional seats that will win back the House and stem the growing tide of right-wing extremism. And we don't back down from a fight in New York, so bring it. We're organizing a table of labor and community groups that are already raising money and organizing voters to take back swing districts. In 2025 and 2026, there are critical races for New York City mayor. I think you've heard of our mayor, and the New York State governor. We've struggled over whether we have the power and ability to decisively win those races, but we're engaging in a lot of important work as a delegation to figure out our strategic pathway forward, right? And when it comes to 2028, here's what we're aiming for. We want to build more discipline and accountability among WFP elected officials in the state legislature and in local government, and organize a more formal caucus of WFP elected leaders. We want to win mayoral elections in Buffalo, in Rochester, in Albany, in Yonkers, and every other city in New York. And we'll be well prepared for potentially taking on even bigger campaigns, specifically the New York City mayor's race in 2029 and the New York State governor's race in 2030.
By 2038, we aim to have more power at the executive level. We want to have multiple WFP champions governing key cities, helping us define and demonstrate the WFP vision for governance. We also want to ensure that there's a disciplined, organized caucus of WFP electeds in the state legislature, wielding power, setting the agenda, passing legislation to advance our working class agenda. Finally, we hope to be closer to electing a WFP governor. A key metric for that is growing our ballot line power and influence.
And by 2048, which feels like a long way away, but it's probably not that far, we hope to win WFP majorities and govern all major New York cities, a WFP champion as governor, and WFP majorities in the state legislature. We also want to see a world where WFP is row B on the ballot line, maybe even row A. Why not? If you're gonna go for it, be the best. Meaning we are either the second largest party in the state or even the biggest party in the state. I think we can do it, right?
When you're hungry for justice, right, come to the WFP. Throughout the convention planning process, one thing has become abundantly clear. New York Working Families Party is hungry for power. Yes. We are getting clearer on our pathway to get there. Yes. We want everything. Yes. We want it in New York. Yes. We want it for our country. Yes. We want it for all of us. Yes. All of us.
In short, New York wants it all.
New York wants it all. Give it up for New York. Now, give it up, New York, my home state. Each of our WFP states has a plan to achieve governing power in our party's next 25 years. And the political map of America is going to change because of the work that we do. So we asked our people in those states to imagine where they would be in the next 25 years. We call this our WFP State Shoutout. So let's watch to see what's going to be popping in other corners of WFP land. And I want to invite my sister Bumi Asili.
So what's really important about this moment, thank you, Mo, what's really important, peace everybody, what's really important about this moment is that as we see the work, right, that folks are putting in, these are the details, these are, our states all across the country. We want you all to read what they are planning, but also feel what they're fighting for. So give it up. Don't forget to use this moment to affirm our people. As you read what they're going to be up to, we want to hear you all, right? Let us hear you. Let us feel you. Let this room feel the ripples of the power that we're planning on, because we're not playing. And when we fight, we win. Let's go.
We just saw Arizona. Give them some love. Watch how it builds. Watch how that power builds. That state's getting purple. That state's turning orange. By 2048, the small and mighty state of Delaware.
That's right.
Not a problem. You're going to pick up some swing seats in the General Assembly and shrink the Republican majority. Then, in 38, Democratic governor and progressive Democrats running our blue cities. By 2048, Democratic trifecta, 2 Democrats in U.S. Senate, progressive municipal governance, and working families platform is the litmus test for Democratic candidates across the state. New Jersey, 28. New Jersey is now a fusion state, and we win the lawsuit to end the county line primary election ballot system, and we recruited and trained 30 state and county and local candidates, and 4 of them win. By 38, we've elected mayors in Newark, Elizabeth, Jersey City, Atlantic City with WFP support. They formed a 7 to 10 member progressive caucus across the state legislature.
Let's go, Jersey!
By 48, we built regional-based infrastructure with northern, central, and southern New Jersey WFP chapters that support our aligned electors. Our progressive caucus in the Senate legislature has grown to 15 members. New Mexico, 28, our governance pipeline program has trained and prepared hundreds of community members to win elected office, manage and staff campaigns, and hold key roles in government administrations. By 38, a majority of the legislature are WFP champions. There is a statewide network of elected officials from city, county, to state levels that back up each other and our party. And then by 48, we have a WFP champion governing trifecta at the state level, a WFP-inspired platform that has been signed into law, and millions of lives are improved. Ohio, 28, WFP has completed and successfully taken governing power in a handful of the larger cities across the state. By 38, a number of WFP elected officials for municipal offices have won and won a handful of state legislative seats in Congress. Yeah. By 48, WFP has formed a powerful caucus in the state legislature to combat the turn of right-wing extremism and to lay the groundwork for a new vision for Ohio. Let's get it, Ohio. Oregon, 28, we have a Democratic majority and some good progressives in the state legislature, including being cross-endorsed by WFP. Okay? By 38, we build a strong contingent of WFP Democrats in the legislature and have flipped some key municipal and congressional seats. And then by 48, we are running and winning WFP candidates for state legislative and municipal seats. We have established a progressive caucus that is passing meaningful legislation. We are maintaining strongholds in key municipalities, congressional districts, and capable of winning WFP. Okay, it's great. We did it. Yeah. All right. In Pennsylvania, WFP's caucus is a majority of the Philadelphia City Council here in Philly. 38. Our state legislative caucus passes a people's budget for the first time in 38. And by 48, WFP candidate wins the Pennsylvania statewide, either Senate or gubernatorial. Rhode Island. WFP caucus in Rhode Island State House is established in 28. 1/3 of each chamber is WFP endorsed. By 38, 50% of each state house chamber is WFP endorsed. WFP champ wins statewide office and WFP Speaker of the House or Senate President. And by 48, WFP establishes itself as an independent third party. WFP champions hold multiple state offices, and WFP champs hold Senate President, Speaker of the House positions, plus 2 of the federal delegations from that state. Texas. Texas, the mighty state of Texas, is the gold standard for candidate recruitment and training. In 38, Texas has led our partners to take back the Texas House, putting Working Families Democrats in House leadership for the first time in 35 years. And Working Families House Caucus is a real power in the legislature protecting our people. We have governing majorities in Austin, Dallas, San Antonio, and Houston city councils in 48. In Wisconsin, in 28, we build a state committee and elect a WFP champion to the U.S. Senate. By 38, WFP has a majority in Madison and Milwaukee city councils, and we help flip the legislature blue. And by 48, WFP is a registered party in Wisconsin. We won Fusion and are electing WFP champions on our ballot line statewide. Washington State, we have a Democratic majority and some good progressives in the state legislature, but not many WFP Democrats. That's 28. We're building. By 38, we have built a strong contingent of WFP Democrats in the legislature and have won and maintained some good congressional seats. Yeah, Washington. And by 48, we're running and winning WFP candidates for state legislative and municipal seats. We've established a progressive caucus as passing meaningful legislation. We're maintaining strongholds in key municipalities, congressional districts, and capable of winning WFP Dems in a statewide office. All right.
Give it up, give it up, give it up for all of our states. Yes. These are wonderful plans, and these plans equal what? Say governing power. These plans equal what? 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 Yes.
Now, isn't it exciting? Give it up for Bumi Asili. Isn't it exciting to imagine? Now, imagine if we zoomed out and we saw a picture of America over the next 25 years. So we could take in what we're actually building here, step by step, state by state. You don't have to imagine, we have it. Now, we want to put it all together for you. We want to use this opportunity to show you what the political map could look like. And we're going to play it a few times so you could really take it in. This is where we are. This is where we're going. In 5 years, you see a little orange. In 15 years, a little bit more orange. In some places, more orange. In some places, WFP shares power with the Democrats. In other places, WFP is the other party, and the Republicans are the second party. This is possible. This is doable. In some places, we won the whole game, like in California. In other places, right, the Democratic Party was so weak that we just skipped over them, and we're contending directly with the Republicans, right? This is real talk if we want it, y'all. But we have to be serious. We have to be disciplined. We have to be rigorous. And we have to be ruthless about power if we want it. Over 25 years, we could transform the politics of this country so WFP is a legitimate third force in U.S. politics with governing majorities in many of those states and contending in real power with the Democrats and the Republican Party in those other states. That could be us over 25 years. We're 25 years in. This is a great pivot point to mark the next direction. Are y'all with that? Well, let's get it. So everything we work on, everything that was depicted in the map, is probably not everything that we work on. Now, there's going to be some big surprises, both good and bad. We don't know what's going to happen over the next 25 years. Like, nobody knew Trump was going to happen. Nobody knew, we could go on and on. But this is our vision for what building governing power in states over the next 25 years could possibly look like. And if we could imagine it, then it can be possible, right? Now, as a national party, the exciting thing is that this work is going on all over the country, and right now it's led by the people in this room. And there will be new states too. So everyone, close your eyes and imagine what this future could look like in your state. Imagine what this could look like in our country, how America can be different. what we could see. How does it feel? Feel the textures. See the vision. Just imagine it, because if we can imagine it, we can actually do it. So let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Build. 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 Next, I want to bring to the stage a comrade of mine, a sister of mine, somebody who I am deeply committed to, whose leadership I look towards. I'm so excited to be building real and deep and authentic governing power with people's action, a people's institution. So, are there People's Action members in the room? Various organizations around the country? Well, I'd like to bring Salma Arias to the stage to help us contextualize what this governing power can mean. Salma.
This is great. Wow, you all, I really needed this. I really did need this. It was so inspiring. It's amazing. I am Zulma Arias. I am the newish executive director at People's Action. And I am a proud Working Family Party's National Committee member. I do this work because I truly believe in the power of collective people. I believe in the power of people coming together. But I also believe in the transformational power that one organizer can have in the course of a person's life. I am the product of an organizer who did not give up on me when she knocked on my door and found out that I was a devoted evangelical Christian, homeschooling my kids and putting them to sleep with American Family Radio. Yeah, a product of that 86 agenda of the right. Instead, she kept coming back, she knocked on my door, and eventually she brought with her Shel Trapp, the co-founder of National People's Action. Next thing I knew, I was in a smelly basement of a Chicago office taking a week-long organizers training. And 23 years later, I'm here. I know some of us are already making the case for why we need strong organizing across the movement and across the field in order to be able to do all of this. And some of us are already part of that conversation. So there are cards on your table and that have a code in the back. Please take a look at what we're doing, the efforts we're making to strengthen organizing across the movement infrastructure, and join us in making all of this happen. 3 months ago, we had the honor of having Maurice Mitchell at our convention in Washington, D.C. And this was our coming home convention, where we were launching what we call our organizing revival, where over 1,000 leaders from across the country, some of you are here today, came together to make commitments about doubling the size of our organizations, about deepening the craft of organizing, the training. And we also made a recommitment to electing Democrats over the next 10 years in 23 of our affiliate states. Democrats who are not just the typical Democrats that we're talking about. We made a commitment to electing people's champions who can work and truly represent our communities, and that is why we need the WFP. For the past year and a half, we've also been in the process of assessing the last 10 years of our 40-year long-term agenda. Our long-term agenda for us is what helps People's Action be very crystal clear about what we need in order to win and the power that we need to build to do that. And we're clear, as somebody said, we want our people to govern. And for us, that has been a 40-year plan. We've been assessing the last 10 years, and guess what we figured out that we need the next 10 years? Something radical. Simple yet radical. We need to build coalitions. We need to get very clear
about what we do well. We need to get very clear about our gaps. And we need to figure out what we need to do to work together, and we're very serious about that and committed to doing that over the next 10 years. Or as I think Marisa Franco from Mijente said yesterday, we need to get very clear about figure out what is the best dish that we cook and that we can bring to the potluck party, and we need to bring it. So we're here to bring it. Imagine a political party where we can harness the power of all the incredible organizing that is taking place across the country, and where we can build this multiracial working class, a group of people that see themselves in solidarity, a working class group of people that is already in our ranks of leaders across our different organizations, that are already being organized by us in issues of housing, healthcare, education, climate, and many other issues that we identify when we're doing good organizing on the ground and on the doors and wherever we need to be. Imagine a party where our organizing truly fuels the power of our political party. We're a collectivized group of working class people who really don't have a home in either of the current parties can call home. Where we can help people believe again that we can do things when we bring our power together, when we collectivize our power. Where we can help our people believe in democracy again. Imagine the power that we could leverage if we did that. That is the invitation I'm here for. That is what I am inspired by. And that is the party that I'm here for, the Working Families Party. Thank you.
Hey, y'all. Thank you, y'all. Our program is over. You can now go to your breakout rooms. And at the breakouts, we have opportunities for skill training as well as for wrestling with the hard stuff and dealing with the strategy and the strategic pipelines. So look at your schedule, head to the breakouts, build the party. Thank you.